Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're about to see my Allegro 1-minute overview and final thoughts. This is designed to see if this game warrants more of your time. If it does, just keep watching because then you'll see my full intro overview and final thoughts. However, if you don't want to be spoiled anything and you want to skip right to the full review, use the time index below in YouTube. Golem is a medium-heavy Euro game where, as you might imagine, you're going to be making and possibly even killing some of your golems and doing a lot of other things to try to get points. There's 3 strategies in the game with golems, knowledge, and artifacts, and you're going to be getting points through a multiplier effect, seeing how well you've upgraded in that track times how well you did in that track, like 3, 4, 5, 6 times how well I did this track, 2 golems, 12 points. That acts the same way in the other 2 main strategies of the game with the knowledge and the artifact. But there's also different objective cards you'll get that you'll be trying to get points at the end of the game as well. The game's only 4 rounds long, 12 total turns, where most of those will be action selection like Grand Austria Hotel, getting power equal to the amount of these marbles, and taking the action that's next to it, but you'll also be placing your rabbi once per round, taking different actions that come out in different tiles each round. So you'll be creating and moving your golems down the streets. The further your golems move down the street to the right, the better action tiles they'll be able to use, but your students are also going to be chasing after them because they'll get better benefits every round, but they also have to pay knowledge for how far they are behind the golems in each street at the end of the round, paying points if they can't. So you'll be building golems, creating artifacts, getting knowledge, and having objectives to all fall in line with your strategies. Golem has a unique theme, and some of the actions in the game are quite thematic. The variability of the setup will make replayability of this game very high. The action selection is the best part of this game, similar to Grand Austria Hotel, but even better by adding some extra things to think about. You're stacking books for engine building and abilities. You're building different golem abilities that are thematic to the body type that you're doing it. The artifact activation is very flexible, and you can do a lot of things with that. On the negative side of things, the game's only 12 turns long, and you really have to focus on one strategy the entire game. No time to pivot, to change strategies, to do anything like that. The game can be a little too punishing for some with the way the golems work and how much you have to pay to keep them when they go far, and the resource economy might be a little tight for some. But if you like their other games like Zolkin, Barrage, Grand Austria Hotel, Lorenzo, Il Magnifico, Coimbra, Marco Polo, Newton, Council of 4, Alma Mater, and more, then you're probably really going to like this. If some of those things that are negative that you might not like, then this game might not be for you, but it definitely is fresh and unique and uses some mechanisms that have worked before, and they've developed them even further. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be building golems and sending them down the street, but we don't want them to get too far ahead of our students because we need knowledge in order to control them. We're also going to be completing artifacts, objectives, and gaining more and more knowledge through books. Today we're taking a look at Golem, a 1 to 4 player medium-heavy Euro game from Cranial Creations. Let me show you how the game's played. I'll see you on the other side. Golem is a medium-heavy Euro strategy game for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 2 hours to play, and as you might imagine, it's called Golem because that's one of the things you'll be doing is building, moving golems, and sometimes even killing them. Let's talk more about that. Now in this game, there's 3 main sort of aspects or strategies in the game that will get you the majority of the points in the game. Now this is actually a setup for a single player where you have a board and a ton of tiles and a lot of things going on here. There's 3 sides to this. We have the study, which is always blue. We have some things up here and some things down here. We have the golems, which are sort of red. That's all this middle area here. And we have the artifacts, which is going to be sort of yellow colored, everything over here. Now at the end of the game, these are basically like 3 tracks, if you will, or 3 strategies that you'll go down, and you'll be getting points using sort of a multiplier way. Meaning, for the blue, which is essentially the study and knowledge and things like that, you're going to take the amount of tiles that you've been able to upgrade, because each of those have menorahs. You'll take the amount of menorahs, like 3, 4, 5, and you'll multiply those by the number of slots that you have books in. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3, 4, 5, that's going to be 20 points. For the golems, you're going to take the number of menorahs, 3, because these are golem upgrades, development tiles that we've been able to upgrade and flip over. We'll talk all about more of this later, but we have 3 of these times 2 golems that we've upgraded, so that's 3 times 2, 6 points. Artifacts, we have 2 yellow menorahs times 2 of these artifacts that we've completely finished by having a certain amount of gold on here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. We finished 2, we've got 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So that's how the multiplying score, and that's the majority of the way you're going to be getting points. Now there's many other ways you'll get points throughout the game that are sort of smaller, dib and dab here and there, but at the end of the game, those are the big ways to get the huge amount of points. In addition to that, you're going to have some objective cards that you'll draft at the beginning of the game, and these will give you points at the end of the game for certain things as well, like being on the 8th spot on this book track, moving up all the way here by the end of the round, end of the game, or having at least 2 golems in the cemetery, or killed, if you will. You'll get 2 points. And also you'll have a sort of a synergy bonus. If you complete 2, 3, or 4 of these objectives, you'll get some more points as well. And there's other way to get objective cards throughout the game too. Now this last objective card talks about moving some of your people down the streets. Now here's the main board in the game, and it's kind of broken up into 3 different sections, just like our other board was for blue, yellow, and red for sort of golems and artifacts and the knowledge/study, if you will. And I just mentioned that objective of moving your student down the street. Each of these streets have students from the different players. These are different player colors here. Players are going to have students that are going to be going down streets and getting different bonuses at the end of each round during income phases. But players also have golems on each of these streets, and these golems are going to be moving down here and possibly getting more and more powerful things to trigger different abilities, if you will. However, once they get too far, it actually is a little bit bad. You'll get some good stuff, but you'll end up paying certain things to get there. Now during the game, you're only going to get 12 turns, and the main action part of this is similar to Grand Austria Hotel, but instead of dice, we have these little marbles here. These marbles are lined up with different actions, and then when you take a marble from here, you're going to take the marble and you're going to have the power equal to the number of marbles. So if I took this one, I'd have a power of 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, and you get to do this action with a power of 4 and so on and so forth, and this marble will now be gone for the other players. So this is sort of that action selection similar to Grand Austria Hotel, but there's some other things going on here. The colors of these marbles make a difference as well. Because if you take, a yellow, a blue, or a red marble, you'll get to move your students down the street, as well as taking the action. And again, these are going to get you certain types of resources and or points once per round during the income phase. There's other things that can actually trigger some of the things to happen as well at different points during the game. Now these 3 main actions all have to do with the 3 different tracks I talked about. Golems, artifacts, and the study. And they're all colored like we saw before, blue, yellow, and red. So they all work sort of similarly, and they all have different sort of resources: clay, gold, and knowledge. Or I should say clay, coins, and knowledge, because gold is another resource that you're using throughout the artifacts as well. But these are the resources in the game, as well as these wooden gold bars. But typically when you take these, the power of this marble tells you how many of those resources you get. Either clay here, gold here, or knowledge there. Then you get to upgrade. We talked about those different upgrades as flipping those different things over on your board. You get to do that one time in that corresponding track. So for example, for the red golems, you're able to flip one of these over, and upgrading usually costs something. Like this is going to cost 8 clay to upgrade, and when you do that, you're going to flip it over and it's going to be worth 3 menorahs, for example. And the other ones will give you all sorts of different abilities that, as you might imagine, have to do with your golems, because that's this section of the upgrade development. These ones over here, again, you're going to spend a certain amount of things, like in this case 2 knowledge, and you'll be able to flip this over. And these are upgrades that allow you to, every time you buy and tuck one of these book cards, you'll be able to get this bonus. But these book cards also sort of stack, where you're not only going to get the thing below it, but you're also going to get every other card placed. So if I place this card here, not only do you get an immediate benefit, you're also going to get now the benefit of this and this. So things start to stack. However, you can only have the same color of books in each column. So blue's going to be here, red, yellow, and black is wild, for example. And when you upgrade one of these artifacts like we've done here, it will cost you a certain amount depending, and you would again flip this over. These have different things on them. It's very flexible as to which one you upgrade and which side you use depending on your strategy, but these are going to reveal the menorahs for the scoring, as well as different things, because when you finish one of these artifacts, like this one needed 3 gold, this thing is going to activate. So you're going to be able to move one of your students one, you're going to get a knowledge, and you're going to get a point. But because these have the little hand icon, every round at the end when you get income, every finished artifact, you're going to get everything there. So it's sort of a little bit of engine building there. So other than taking resources and doing upgrades from these spots, This one, you're going to be able to build a golem. This one, you're going to be able to spend 3 coins to put a gold bar. And as you finish those artifacts, we show how they activate. And this is going to allow you to buy a book. Now, these books are up here. They have a cost on the card and a cost on their board on the spot. So this one costs 2 + 1, 3. This one costs 4 + 2, 6. And when you buy one, you slot it as I showed you before. And then the rest slide down and a new one comes out. Again, when you buy one of these, you're going to get an immediate action. Like this is going to give you 2 knowledge. But then it's also going to give you a point and a clay, and every other time you build a green on top of it, it's going to get that as well. Now, building a golem allows you to put a new one out. Let's say the green player did that. They could put one out here, and they'll start this way, and there's different ways that you'll be moving these golems down the street and also activating things. For example, if you take this action, you'll get to activate 1, 2, 3, or 4 of your golems for 1, 3, 5, or 8 knowledge. And you get a discount depending on how many of these are. You get to basically subtract how much knowledge you need by how many marbles were there. Now, when you activate a golem, you'll put them down, meaning you can't be activated again this round, and you'll get the ability of whatever that tile is that it's next to. In this case, you just get 2 knowledge. Here you can spend 2 knowledge to get a book. Here, 3 knowledge. Here you can buy a book at a cost of 3 less. And these tiles, there's 10 of them in the game, but only 7 are used each game. So there's a lot of randomization and variability in the setup, but they always do go in order from lowest to highest for the ones that are selected for that game. And that's the same for the other 2 tracks. Again, there's 10 tiles, only 7 are used. They just get put in ascending order. And typically the bottom blue one we saw deals with knowledge. This yellow one deals with coins. And this one deals with clay, which again, the 3 different tracks and the 3 different resources that go with those 3 different tracks. Now, as you build golems, you'll be moving yourself up this golem track, telling you 2 here to move up this track. And this is going to be every income phase, you're going to be getting a certain amount of points, which is great, but you're also going to have to be moving your golems a certain amount. Now, the game is only 4 rounds long, but each round, you're also going to have to move your golems a certain amount depending on the round. So this is 1 plus the 6 on my board. I'd have to move my golems 7 at the beginning of this round, for example. Now this could be a tricky balance, because let's say we're now the purple player, we're going to move those golems up to 7 total. You're going to start moving these down, and there's some strategy as to where you move them because you want to be able to activate certain things. But there's a problem here, because these golems that you've made are running down the street and your students might be far behind them. And at the end of the round, you're going to have to pay knowledge equal to how far they're back. This one is 1, 2, 3. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd have to pay a total of 7 knowledge. And if you can't, well, you got to pay victory points. It's very punishing. And if your golem starts getting towards the end, you're going to have to spend a knowledge or a point, 3 knowledge or 3 points, 5 knowledge of 5 points. And you have to keep going, or if you can't spend this, again, you're going to be spending points. So the golems start running wild. They're getting you good points every round, but they're really costing you in other ways, and it can be quite punishing. However, as you saw, we had an objective card about killing golems. That's one of the actions you'll be able to take, and you'll be putting them in the cemetery and getting something for it, like, hey, straight points, gold, moving up the book track, getting some resources, and things like that. As your golems are going down the street and activating these tiles, your students are going down this way, and at the end of the round, they're getting this for income, sort of like 2 knowledge and 3 points. And if they cross this, well, this is an extra menorah, which essentially is a multiplier for the end game points that we talked about. There's one other action where you can, if you take a marble from here, you can pay a coin to mirror any of the other actions at that power level. You can also spend 3 coins to go up on that book track. I mentioned you only get 12 actions in the entire game, 12 turns, if you will. And there's 4 rounds, so you're getting 3 turns per round. 2 of them are going to be taking those marble actions, and you place them in this little golem's eyes. It's kind of cool. It helps you track when, how many actions you've taken. But instead of taking one of those marbles, one of the 3 actions you take during a round is going to be one of these tiles. And there's a certain amount put out depending on the players, and you'll place it there. Not only does this start turn order for next round, top to bottom, but it gives you an ability. Like, this is do an upgrade. You can spend any resource of that. And an upgrade is worth, it's 3 discount, if you will. This one is, hey, you're going to move your golems 4, and you can activate one, but you don't have to pay knowledge to control them at the end that we just talked about. You usually have to spend that knowledge there. Here is getting a gold, and you get a point for every artifact you've completed. Or here you're getting 1 of each of the resources, and then you get to take 2 objective cards and keep 1. This one's printed on the board. It's always available. You can kill one of your golems to get any 2 resources. Then, at the end of the round, all these are going to go away. There's a whole stack of these. New ones will come out. And once you're done with all those, you shuffle and you create a new pile and such. So different ways to take different actions in the game. So we mentioned the 2 marbles that you're taking and go on your board. That's another reason is each of these cards, which by the way, there's a ton of these cards, they're different every game. If your 2 marbles match these colors, and by the way, if you took a white one, it's kind of a wild, you could either just get money, like 3 coins, or you could spend 2 coins to do an ability, like upgrade something for a discount of 4 and get a point. So if you can take the actions that are on these cards, you also get more bonuses, another thing to think about. So as you can see, there's quite a lot going on in this game. We haven't even talked about a lot of the abilities for the Golem upgrades. Like here, you don't have to spend move your Golem any from the character card that we just showed you at the beginning of the round. Here, the maximum you can spend when trying to control your Golems is 2. And it's fun because this is the leg, so it has to do with movement. This is the brain, it has to do with, controlling the Golem. So there's all sorts of different things you could do in any of the 3 tracks, lots of different things to think about. So that's pretty much it as a nutshell at a very high level. That's how the game works, and at the end of the 4 rounds, you're going to count up, again, points from your objective cards, some of the synergy bonuses of those. Sometimes you get points if you get far enough on this track, and then you'll do all the multiplication of each of the 3 main tracks. There's other ways to score too. There's 1 point for every 5 resources and things like that, but whoever has the most points in the end is the winner. All right, now there is Golem. Now, this design pedigree is tried and true. Games like Zolkin and Barrage and Grand Austria Hotel, Lorenzo Magnifico, Coimbra, Marco Polo, Newton, Council of 4, Alma Mater, you name it, they have hit after hit after hit. So I was really excited for this one. I love a few of the games I just mentioned, like Grand Austria Hotel is probably my favorite of that list. I love Council of 4 as well. So I was really excited about this. The first thing, let's talk about the things I liked about it. The game definitely has a unique theme. You're creating these golems and you're trying to keep them in check with your knowledge. And actually, even though it's a Euro game, that when you think about the upgrades and things that I talked about with the golems and if you upgrade their legs, it allows you to not have to chase after them so far. Or like you upgrade the head, then you don't need to spend as much knowledge to control them. Things like that. It thematically they did things to make it say, well, you couldn't just put this theme, it could have been any theme. And yes, it's a Euro, yes, you're going up and down tracks and you're trying to multiply points, but they actually did a good job with the upgrades, at least with the Golem side of things, to make it feel thematic as well. The variability of the setup here, heavy Euro gamers are gonna love. The different tiles that come out every round for every game for the different tracks. You're only using 7 of 10, then they go in order from lowest to highest. The different order that those different action tiles come out with the rabbi tiles that you take those actions, that's going to add a lot of replayability. Your starting resources that I didn't even show in the overview is a tile that you get that has all sorts of different things on it. Your objective cards, you're going to draft those. There's even the boards, the artifact boards, those are double-sided and they're different. There's just so much variability to the setup. I think players that want to play games lots of times have it feel a little differently every time. This is going to do that for those players. The best thing about this game for me was the action selection, and one of the reasons why I was really interested in this game was I love Grand Austria Hotel. I love that dice drafting mechanism. I love that when you pull this, you do this action for the power of how many dice are there. And this has that same thing, but it has like one more mechanism on top of that, which is, hey, the color now matters. Both for maybe moving your students, but also maybe triggering a bonus at the end of the round depending on the character card. And I love that. It worked well in Grand Austria Hotel. It works probably even better here because of those extra 2 things that I just mentioned. I love that. I like that you're stacking the different books. You can only have 1 color for each column, but as you stack them in a certain spot, you're going to be stacking, again, those abilities. And so when you put one in there, you're going to be able to do a bunch of things, but you've got to move up the book track in order to have a certain amount of books there. I didn't show that sort of intertwined together, in very great detail in the overview, but as you're trying to stack more and more books to get that sort of engine going, you're also having to move up that book track too, so you need to really focus on that. I talked about the different Golem abilities. I thought those are really cool. The artifact activation and flexibility. So you get to decide, which one you're working on. Which one are you working on the gold for? And once you get that finished, it's going to activate right away, and then it's going to activate every time. But you get to decide which piece is going to be upgraded and what side is being used. Lots of decisions and lots of things that you get to basically build your strategy around. And for that reason, I think people, if you know what you're getting into with this game, a 2-hour medium-heavy Euro game, and you know the designers, you know some of those games that I mentioned earlier, if you like those other games, you're more than apt to like this game. Now, on the negative side of things, let me tell you some of the things I didn't like about the game. There's 4 rounds, essentially you're getting 12 turns. And at the end, you have that multiplying scoring. Yes, you're getting points throughout with different things here and there, and if you're moving up your little golem track, you're getting points every round or an income. But the majority of your points are going to come at the end of the round, at the end of the game with your multiplying. And you're only getting 12 turns. So it really forces you from the beginning of the game to sort of, maybe even your drafting of objective cards, to pick a strategy, one of the 3 main strategies in the game, and you really need, because there's only 12 turns, to stick with that and get as much as you can. Because if you've got like 4 or 5 menorahs or 3 or 4 menorahs on something, and you're working down that track, if you do anything else in any other spot, it's not nearly going to be worth as much as going down that further and further and further. So some people like that. If you're the type of person that likes to pick a strategy thing in the game and just go with that whole thing the entire game and not need to pivot and not need to try other strategies and just laser focus on one strategy on that game, then you're gonna love this. If you like to have things where you're more like, I'd love to be able to like do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and pivot if I see something else happening and be opportunistic, that's not really what this game is about. And those are times of things that I personally prefer a little bit more. The game can be a little punishing. You know, you're going up the golems, you're moving your golems down the street, but then you gotta control them, and then if they go too far, you're paying resources and or points. And then if you can't pay those, you know, it can be pretty punishing. And so you gotta know that as you're getting better and better with those golems, it's gonna get harder and harder, and the game is gonna be punishing a little bit. And if some people love that, some people don't, just let you know it's there. It might be too punishing for some. The resource economy is very tight in this game, as you might imagine in some other Euro games. If you like your resource economy being very tight in Euro games, you're gonna love it. If you like it to be a little bit more open like me, you won't like that aspect as much. So in the end, like I mentioned at the beginning of this review, if you've played and or liked Zolkin, Barrage, Grand Austria Hotel, Lorenzo Magnifico, Coimbra, Marco Polo, Newton, Council 4, Alma Mater, any of those, if you like those, you're more than likely going to really like this. Some of the players that I play this with also love those heavier games, and they really love this. Me, I liked aspects of the game, but in the end, it has things that I don't necessarily prefer in my Euro games. So this wasn't a great fit for me, but hopefully with my overview with you and with telling you not only how the game works, but what I found interesting, what things you might want to look out for. So pretty much everything in this review, I'm like, hey, if you like this, you'll like this. If you don't like this type of thing, you probably won't like this. So hopefully you should know yourself as a player, and through my review, you can see if this is a game for you or not. This has been a Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games, and helping you find the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.